Okay, hi, welcome to Staging Your Home to Sell. This is brought to you by My Utah Agents. We are a top producing team across the entire state of Utah, and we are excited to present to you this great value-packed webinar that is going to give you all the tips and tricks to get your home sold this spring. So with that being said, we're just going to dive right in because there's a lot of content to go over. First things first, I definitely want us to go over the market and where it was and where we expect it to go. So a lot of people's reference point always go back to the crash. Well, let's look before the crash even occurred. And so this is a graph that's going over the second quarter of every year, starting from the year 2000, and obviously going through last year, which is second quarter of 2018. The green line is supply, so really the number of homes available, which we also call inventory. The black line down below is the demand, so the number of homes sold. And then, which usually has a direct relation, obviously, on pricing and the trend that it's going. If you have a lot of supply and not a lot of demand, you're gonna see pricing go down because obviously buyers are not competing. In fact, that happened obviously after the crash to where sellers were proactively putting in their listings, hey, we will cover all your closing costs, to where in a sense they were trying to make it as easy as possible for buyers to purchase their home versus all the other 30 homes that the buyers were looking at. Well, the opposite's true right now because we have low inventory and strong demand. So that's obviously meaning that there's not as many homes out there, or especially nice homes that buyers want to buy. So they are all competing for the same property, and now we are seeing obviously a lot of bidding wars happening, people including escalation clauses, waiving their inspection or repairs because now they don't have an upper hand as a buyer in a sense, and so sellers are really capitalizing on this. So let's kind of look at this graph. We're just going to go through it. If you see from 2000 to 2006, the gap between the green and black, so between what was active and what was selling, and supply and demand, it was pretty consistent. And so the blue, which is your pricing, really was just ticking up about 3 to 4%, which is really the expected appreciation of homes. So obviously in 2005, 6, and 7, this is a really unique little window in the market that there was an unpredicted and unworthy increase in pricing, which you can see, and it really wasn't due to supply and demand. So these few years really were an anomaly, and the big reason that that occurred is because there was an increase in subprime lending. A lot of people may or may not know what that term is, but really what it was is that the lending practices really were, like the mortgage and lenders and banks were lacking verification of borrower credentials, or being very relaxed as far as their credentials go. So obviously if you're not verifying income, you're not verifying debt, obviously that led a lot of families into financial hardships. And their lifestyles couldn't afford their monthly payments, especially as their ARMs, which means an adjustable rate mortgage, meaning that maybe when they bought the home, they could afford it realistically with their lifestyle and everything. But as time went on, it's like a gradual increase. Some of these didn't have the gradual increases. A majority of them actually did not. So it would go from your monthly payment of being maybe $1,000 a month to all of a sudden your interest rate went up 1.2 points, which is pretty substantial when it comes to your monthly payment. So then all of a sudden, they went from being able to afford it to not being able to afford it. And so obviously, what was once affordable became too much for them to handle. That's why you saw a lot of short sales, you saw a lot of foreclosures, bank-owned properties, which isn't really occurring anymore because obviously the lenders, the whole economy has learned better that that was not a way to do business. So you'll see that the green line, so what was actually active and available in 2007 was peaked up at the very top. That's the very top line you'll ever see. Most of that big gap, because you can see it really jumped from the year before to 2007, a lot of those were to be built. That's because construction, like builders, caught on to, they could pretty much ask and put anything out there, and these buyers potentially would be able to purchase it and afford it. And so they were really marketing a ton of to be built, spec homes, all of that. So once the crash started occurring, you can see how that dramatically went down. And that's because a lot of those were raw vacant land listings, most of which didn't come to fruition. And a lot of people ended up losing their jobs in construction because there wasn't that demand anymore. So you can see how it went down with it. Pricing went down, the whole economy went down, so demand went down. And although we currently seem to be in another peak, which we will see, after time goes on, if that's really the case, that because the lending practices of what happened for the crash in 2007 and 8 are not occurring today, we really don't think that there's any indication that the current market will end up crashing like it did before. So most of today's home buyers remember that situation and use it as a key talking point to address that, yes, although pricing's at all-time high, also at the same rate, you can actually afford a home at today's pricing more than you could in 2007 because mortgage interest rates are still below the historic average, where back then they weren't. And then obviously, since the crash occurred, lenders are meticulously making sure that the buyers are financially stable. So as you can tell, that the economy has rebounded, thankfully. Demand has grown, and home ownership has really started occurring for the past 5 years, to where people do want to buy, they do want to become homeowners, they're getting out of their parents' basements, they're getting out of apartments, because even right now, apartments and rentals are almost as much, if not more expensive than owning a home. And so the demand's still there, and it's still strong, and obviously they're out there searching for homes. So new construction is really trying to attempt at making up the lack of inventory, as you guys probably heard in news articles and such, that we do have low inventory. So new construction is trying to fill that gap. And landowners, because obviously if new construction is super popular, landowners are capitalizing on this demand for raw land for builders to build. However, if these builders are paying top dollar for land now, then obviously they're relaying that cost on. So it's really quite expensive to build new construction unless your budget can afford it. However, because there is such a demand for affordable housing now, because interest rates are going up, pricing has come up so much that you're going to start seeing new construction lean more towards multi-housing. So you're going to see a lot more townhomes and condos, smaller single family homes, a lot of patio homes, because we got a lot of baby boomers that are wanting to downsize out of their big 4,000 plus square foot home. And it's just, typically husband and wife empty nesters. They're wanting to get out of this big home with a big payment, big yard, into a smaller patio home. So a patio home's a rambler with no basement. It's typically a slab on grade. That is pretty much your most popular, biggest in demand type of home right now. But you'll start seeing more and more demand on townhomes and condos. In fact, I was actually talking about how we bought our townhome in 2007-8 for $175, and those same townhomes today are selling over $200,000. So, and again, the good news for buyers is that interest rates are still well below the historic average. So with the wage growth not as high as predicted, the feds have actually adjusted their mortgage rate hikes that they scheduled for this year. And so that way affordability is not impacted as much. So they definitely want to keep to pace with the economy. They don't want to cause any concern. And they want to make sure that they're doing all the right things to keep the economy going in the right direction. People really do underestimate too what interest plays as far as their monthly payments go. So it's often plays a bigger factor than even pricing. So although pricing's gone up substantially, even a tick in your interest rate, so even 0.5% to 1 full percent, can mean you qualifying or you not qualifying, or you still qualify, but now you have to actually buy less of a home or in a lesser pricing point. So we actually talked to Bryce, who's my husband and our preferred lender. He's with Citywide Home Loans, and we said, okay, for every $10,000 a buyer spends at today's rate, about approximately how much is that more in a monthly payment? And right now it's $70 a month. So people think, okay, I'm gonna go, if pricing goes up another 10, well, if it goes up another 10, it's only $70. But if your mortgage rate goes up 0.5%, that could mean a couple $100. So people really underestimate that. And I just want to emphasize that really right now, the best time to buy and the best reason to buy is because of the mortgage interest rates and affordability. Because if you wait too long, you're either going to be priced down in the market or priced out of the market completely. Meaning whatever situation you're in right now to whatever your target end goal is may be too big of a jump for you to be able to do it, or you may end up not being able to qualify at all. So we definitely don't want to see that happen. And just so you know, as a seller in your mindset too, this is what buyers are thinking about. This is the story that they're being told. And so you definitely want to make sure too that we do try to keep homes as affordable as possible. And so needless to say, pricing is going to go up, but mortgage interest rates are amazing. Okay, so as we move forward in this presentation, you can see that we're going over preparation, hot or not, which is trends, staging to sell. We're going to go over the timeline and tips to sell your home, and then going from for sale to sold. So as we go into the preparation section, we are going to talk about how to proactively prepare your home to sell. I always say there's the 3 Ds to selling your home, which is to make sure you declutter your home. It's a great way to actually get a head start on your move by starting to pack up and box the things that you either want to move into your new home or things that you've accumulated that you completely forgot about and you're not going to have any use for moving forward. And then spring's coming up too, so make sure that you're mindful. On a weekend with good weather, you could always host a yard sale. And that's the big hit this time of year coming up as soon as the snow melts and the weather gets nicer. So even if you're waiting until the fall time, it's never too early to start this process. So I would just say already get a jump start on it. And then the best practices for getting your home to a point where potential buyers can actually visualize themselves in your home is to remove about 60% of your belongings. And I know you're probably thinking, what? What did she just say? Did she really just suggest that? And it's yes, I did. Because if you have all of your stuff and all of your clutter and your decorations, people cannot see it as a blank slate of what is their stuff going to look like. We want to minimize it as much as possible. So I always say, have you ever gone to a hotel where it still feels like home, but not like somebody else's home? Or say a model home. And usually model homes, they put still more things out. I like the model home situation more as far as like what your target would be as far as staging goes. So needless to say, if you have a lot of stuff and say you're like, well, I still want to use this stuff for my next home, box it up, put it nice and neat out into your garage. People really don't have high expectations for storage rooms or garages, to where if you really wow them and they fall in love with the home, by the time they get to those areas, they're going to think, wow, now I know where all their stuff is and I know why their home looks so good. And then don't get overwhelmed. Start just with one room and work on the next room and just make piles of what do I want to keep? What do I want to keep but move into the new home that I don't have a need for right now? What do I want to donate? Maybe what are some heirlooms that I want to pass on to family or friends, or what do I want to get rid of completely or maybe sell at a yard sale? So the next D is depersonalizing. I remember walking into a home that this lady had a doll collection, and it was almost kind of creepy, to be honest, to where you're thinking, why does she have so many dolls in every single room? And some of them were almost life-size. And really, that was the focus of our whole showing and the buyer's experience, is they didn't ever remember much about the actual home, but they remember all about the dolls. So if you depersonalize, people can actually focus on the home and the product that they're buying versus all of your stuff. Also, by depersonalizing, we always want to make sure that you make sure to hide any valuables, any antiques. A lot of times we have kids with us when we're showing homes. And yes, we're responsible and we're respectful as well. However, accidents can happen. Make sure you are putting guns and jewelry and medicines in a safe, just to make sure that all your important things are not accidentally end up in the hands of somebody during a showing. And then also deep clean. So everybody's version of deep clean is different. If you don't like to clean, we have cleaners that we can refer to you, but we say to do all of your baseboards, definitely deep clean your bathrooms and your kitchen, tile, hard surface areas, make sure there's no water spots, make sure there's no mold stains. If somebody's walking through your home and we open up the shower curtain and there's black rings around your bathtub, it definitely doesn't give them a good feeling of, oh, I can't wait to soak in this tub. So you definitely want to make sure you're proactively deep cleaning your home. It also will give it more of a sense of pride of ownership. And really, they won't be able to notice those things and think that maybe you're not a very good housekeeper, or what else are they not keeping up on as far as, you know, possibly their furnace and the big major things. You know, if you're not cleaning your home, pretty sure you're probably not cleaning your furnace and all of those things that are quite expensive. So next on our thing is we tease, you can't sell what you smell. I remember showing a home to another buyer and we walked in and there was an overwhelming sense of cat pee. And she literally said, the smell of opportunity. And I was thinking she was crazy. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And she goes, well, I already know most other buyers will completely overlook this and probably not even end up walking through the rest of the home. So if I like this home, I'm going to use that to my advantage to negotiate. Well, if there's something you can proactively handle and remediate before buyers get there, then obviously that gives you more reason to stick to top dollar for your home and not negotiate as much. So common smells are obviously pet smells, and yes, even dog smells, so it's not just a cat thing. Smoke smell. So even if people smoke in just their garage, it tends to get into the actual home. And then stains and spills over time. Obviously, kids can spill and stain things. So here's ways to remove the odor. So baking soda. Baking soda is a great thing for people to use. It's simple, it's easy, and it's cheap. Same with coffee grounds, it'll absorb the smells in. White vinegar to clean with, or apple cider vinegar. Both of those are amazing products to use. You can always Google, YouTube how to use these. Let's use technology here and what's out there for free. Lemon is always a great thing. And then some people don't know about some of the stronger, more aggressive tactics to get rid of smell, which would be an ozone machine. My dad is in the restoration business for my whole life. So I am familiar with this, but a lot of other people and other realtors I talk to and network with, they weren't aware of this. So I've been letting a lot of people know what an ozone machine is. It looks like a little Ghostbuster machine, and nobody can be in the home, no pets, no animals. And also you want to make sure that everything's dried. So if you just cleaned your carpet and they're wet, you definitely don't want to do this because it'll actually bleach the carpet. But if everything's dry and everything else is out, it actually can sit in your home and you tape warning signs on your door, but it's not harmful after it's all said and done. But what it does is it'll get rid of all of the smells. Say, for example, because he's in the restoration business, if you've had a house fire and it's in just a small section of the home, obviously the wood behind the walls are going to absorb that smoke smell. It's just like when you go camping and you have a campfire, obviously it's like your hair. Not sure if guys can relate to this, but your hair, your clothes really absorb that smell in. Well, so does your 2x4s. So does your sheetrock. All of that stuff behind the scenes, behind the walls, absorb that. An ozone machine will get all of that smell out. So typically you leave it in a home for about 2 days to run its course. Again, just make sure nobody's there. But if you ever did need to rent one, they are amazing, and I can give you the contact info for that. Also, an enzyme treatment. So I had a seller that had dogs that peed, and it ended up getting like kind of seeping into the floor around this, like the sides of the kitchen and stuff, just certain areas. So there was a professional company that came in and actually sprayed an enzyme, which is obviously live, and it eats on the pet pee. So needless to say, there's that option. And then Kills is a great thing, but you definitely want to make sure you just don't lacquer it on and then do nothing else. So you can use it actually kind of like priming for walls, so then you can paint right over it. You can put it on your subfloors. So if you're ripping carpet out, or say you're just redoing the floor because you can smell it and it's really underneath those layers, you can actually use it and it traps it in. I don't want to say traps it in, but seals, right? That's a better phrase to say. Seals any odors before you lay down new flooring or before you repaint. So there is that option as well. Here is two things, which if you want these, we can send you the PDF to them after we're all said and done. These are great things that we came up with a team on tips to sell your home, and we go over every section of your home. So obviously we're starting with curb appeal. We're going into interior general tips. We go over in the living room, here's what you should do. In the kitchen, here's what you should do. Bathrooms, master, garage, and the basement. Even your attic, which honestly, a lot of people don't go in your attic, but still, just in case you have one of those ladders that they pull down and they kind of want to see how much storage. The only attics we really tend to go in is ones in patio homes, because they already don't have a lot of storage. So if there is the pull down in the garage and you can walk up and see how much storage is above the garage, that's about the only time I've ever actually checked out an attic. And then we also have on here a majority of buyers are FHA or VA, especially since we live in Utah and we have Hill Air Force Base. So FHA and VA are different types of loan that the buyers can get to purchase their home. But with these loans, the lenders want to make sure these homes are in acceptable, livable condition. So there's a couple things that they check for. And one of them is that they want to make sure that the roof has about 5 years life left in it. So if you have curling shingles, if the gravel off of the asphalt shingles is kind of worn off, they could call it out and say, in order for this buyer to get this loan, your roof has to be replaced. So then you have to renegotiate that as the buyer and seller. If it's super bad, then obviously a seller's going to want to just proactively replace their roof before putting it on the market. They do not like to see any broken window panes because of safety. So a lot of these things that they're looking for are either safety or structural related. So no broken window panes, because they don't want people obviously getting hurt or cut. They don't like to see peeling paint. Number one, for lead-based paint issues, which is safety. And then number two, for structural, because as wood is exposed and water gets on it, you tend to get wood rot. They don't like to see any exposed electrical wiring. And obviously that's safety. So make sure if there's any exposed wires that you put a cap or cover on it or put an outlet there. Even in the attic, you're going to want to make sure you have the junction boxes as well. They want to make sure the furnace is in good working order, and that's because here in the state of Utah, it can get below freezing temperatures, so they definitely want to make sure that there is a heat source. Water heaters in good working order as well, and that it does have earthquake straps installed. So some of them require only one earthquake strap, some of them require two. Smoke detectors, again, for safety. So you want to make sure that each bedroom has a smoke detector, and then in the hallway leading to those bedrooms and in a common area like the kitchen, the living room, or family room. And that's going to be for upstairs and downstairs. And then CO detectors, because obviously CO tends to be lower in the home, so they at least want it in the basement, but I'm starting to see them require one for each level of the home for that CO. Driveway and walkway, so your concrete. They don't like to see them crumbling, and that's for tripping hazard. And then also if you have sidewalks or a walkway leading up to your door and it does have a little bit of settling and there's a little point mark that's sticking up that can trip somebody, they're going to ask that be fixed as well. And then also with that no tripping hazard, I have even had appraisers call out carpet. Say for example, if it's really bunched up and wrinkled, or for example, there's tears in it, those can become tripping hazards as well. Very unlikely, but it's been called out before. And then obviously handrails on your stairways and your decks, making sure people aren't going to fall and hurt themselves. And then when it's time to show, we have a couple things on here's what you do to get your home ready to show. I would say always make sure that you're lighting up the home, that you're turning on all your lights, that you pick up all the toys and clutter, because even if your pictures look amazing and fabulous, if they get there and it doesn't live up to your photos, they're going to be disappointed. So we actually say it's better to exceed their expectations as soon as they get there than oversell it online and then they get there and they're disappointed. So you want to manage expectations and you want to exceed their expectations as a seller. So give the carpets a quick vacuuming. Obviously, you can make sure that the smells good in there. So we typically say in the spring and summer, more of a fruity smell is great. In the fall, winter, holiday season, cinnamon. However, don't overwhelm people with smells. Number one, they're going to think you're covering something up. Number two, they more than likely would get a headache and end up getting nauseous. I've literally been in homes that they've had plugins in every room on the highest setting, and it's just, and different smells throughout the home, and it really actually makes you kind of sick as you're walking through it. So just something really light, just giving it a little fresh scent. You can turn some music on, which really livens up a home. So rather than walking in and it sounds like crickets inside, it really gives that energy into the home. And then if you do have a fireplace and you're able to turn it on right before the showing and it's wintertime, definitely do that, because again, it's going to make it feel cozy. It's going to make it feel welcoming and warm, and want to definitely bring you in as a buyer to like that home more. We're going to move on to the trend section. So hot or not. We're going to start on the outside. So curb appeal really says a lot about your home and sets the tone for the rest of the showing. We have known through psychology that people tend to stack, meaning if they perceive something in a certain way, then they're going to continue confirming their opinion as it goes on. So say, for example, you pull up to a home and immediately you start noticing outside stuff that's wrong with it. Well, as you continue inside the home, you're going to constantly be looking for more things wrong with the home. So even on the outside, make sure that you are doing more than enough to have that amazing curb appeal and give them nothing to worry about. And then if you do that, then they're going to walk through the rest of the home and find more reasons on why they love your home. And then often people can add value to that home because of the curb appeal. So this is not only curb appeal with landscaping, but if you look at the middle picture, it's amazing to see what they did to this home that looked really old before. And then what they did is they actually took down that siding. I'm assuming that there was the brick or blocks behind it, and they just painted it. They added a new front door, which, by the way, they say your front door is very important. It's the focal point of your home. Anytime a buyer pulls up outside your home, that's the first thing that they focus on, and then they notice everything else. So make sure that your front door is on point, that it's repainted, it looks great, it's got a wreath on it, whatever you need to do to kind of spice it up. So not only landscaping, but make sure your front door looks great. Make sure that your steps are shoveled as they're getting there, because if we're risking our lives, especially me, I know I'm silly, but I wear heels even in the winter time. If I'm walking up to a home and the rain gutter above the door isn't sufficiently working, and so there's been water pooling up, and then it's frozen in front of the door, and I'm supposed to be getting to the key box, and we're like hanging onto the rail trying to get in the front door, it just really doesn't give it a great feeling. So make sure you're crossing your T's, you're dotting your I's, even from the outside in. And then John Gidding with HGTV Curb Appeal Show says it can add 5 to 20% increase in your home. As far as trends go too, quartz is the new biggest thing. So even before granite, so quartz is more of the modern, what you're going to start seeing in more and more homes. Instead of people replacing their Formica with granite, they're actually going to replace it with quartz. Or you'll even see some homes that maybe the island has quartz, and maybe the rest of the kitchen where the cabinets are has granite. So you'll see a lot of mixing and matching to keep up with the trends. And then solid surface is still in, and then laminate. So I tell people, if you are upgrading your home and you're doing updates to it, let's talk about it first, because I don't want you going into your home and you having laminate, and then you're saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and put in quartz or granite, which is crazy expensive. And say, for example, your pricing point doesn't warrant it to where you absolutely have to have quartz or granite. You could even do laminate that looks like granite. So always talk to a professional, because we don't want you going above and beyond that. You're not going to have your return on your investment in your home if your intention is to sell it. However, if you're in a higher pricing point, we're going to say, yes, you do need to do those, and you can't do the laminate that looks like granite, because in this pricing point, buyers are going to expect this, and most of your other homes that you're competing with have it, so you need to have it as well. And then also on your kitchen cabinets. So standard cabinets, which you can see in this top photo, is just meaning that you have the straight lines across. Or do you like staggered cabinets? So if you are replacing your cabinets and doing updates, obviously it takes more money and labor to do the staggered cabinets. Plus on these staggered cabinets that I have in the middle here, they actually have that crown molding wrap on top too, which even adds to the accent, accentuates it more with the staggered cabinets. More than likely, if you're purchasing a home, you're going to see more staggered cabinets in the newer homes. And then one-tone versus two-tone cabinets. So if you actually look at the very bottom photo, you can see how their cabinets up against the wall are brown, but then yet their island is white. So again, you're going to see a lot of differences because people are trying to contrast their home and not make it so bland and plain Jane. And then partial versus full overlay. So if you have cabinets, and this is the back where you're going to have the opening for all your stuff, and then here's the cabinet door. So that's what the overlay is how close do these doors meet and flush, to where a partial overlay just means it's just going to cover up the hole. A full overlay means that they're actually going to come together and close off any and all gaps of what's behind. So it's a little tricky, I would say, with the partial. Those are the ones that you can still stick your fingers in between and pull out if there's no handles. However, with the full overlay, you absolutely have to have the hardware for the handles so you can pull them open and open up all of the drawers. And then regular versus soft close. Obviously, regular just means you can slam it as hard as you want. It's going to hit the back of the cabinet. The soft close means you can slam it closed, but then it kind of catches itself and closes very softly and nicely. Also, another thing with cabinets is a lot of people love the pull out drawers. So if you open it up, even on the bottom, you open it up and you pull the drawers out versus trying to pull every pan out before you can get to that one in the very back. So if you are doing updates to your kitchen and you are doing cabinets, you definitely want to make sure that you're sticking with what people are expecting in today's day and age. Another thing to think about is with your faucets, you have the gooseneck or the two handle. More than likely, people are going to be expecting more gooseneck in a modern home. You'll see almost all kitchens now have the gooseneck, and some bathrooms still have the two handle, which we have the two handles. So you can see that's the one on the right is the two handle version. And then you can see a majority of the other ones are more of that gooseneck. It's just, you know, easy, one and done. And then the sinks. So talking about how your sink is mounted. You have an over mount, which is this one right here in the middle right. That means that obviously it's sitting on top of the counter. Then you have an under mount, which is this top left one. And then you have a farm sink. Farm sinks all the rage and hit, especially obviously in kitchens. So you can see that it's pretty much mounted right here. A majority of them are just wide open, 100% open sink. However, you can do sinks that are either 60-40, meaning they're cutting that up, or they're doing a 50-50, which you can kind of see this aerial view of this one down below, which is pretty much a 60-40. And then hardwood. So a lot of people are going against having real hardwood in homes, and they're going more towards engineered or laminate hardwood. So the great news is that the engineered and laminate are a little bit more durable than the real hardwood. However, yes, real hardwood, you're going to spend a ton of money and it's going to look gorgeous when you're done. But I know for me personally, with dogs and kids, and I, again, wear high heels all the time, I don't want to ruin my hardwood floors to where I rather actually have an engineered or a laminate hardwood versus real hardwood in my home. And even that being said, I'd actually say if I were to redo the floors in my home right now, I would lean more towards laminate hardwood, which a lot of people think is a cheaper version. However, they look so good and they're very durable. So people are starting to think of these things as far as usability and maintenance things later on. Obviously, tile is still super popular, and you'll see that a lot of tile, they're starting to look more like hardwood, but it's really tile. So if you really love tile and the durability of tile, but you want the hardwood look, you can still do tile that looks like hardwood. However, it's going to be a little bit cooler than hardwood because it tends to be obviously cold, ceramic, that type of stuff. And then carpet, you're actually going to see carpet that is shorter in length, not as much shag, and a lot of them will have patterns or prints in them. So you can kind of see that in the bottom left here, that this one has a pattern. And then you'll also see where it's different layers too, to give a different pattern with that as well. And then vinyl and linoleum. So again, depending on your pricing point, you may be going more towards vinyl and linoleum when you're doing these updates in your home in order to sell it. People more than likely in a higher pricing point will not love vinyl and linoleum because obviously if they're paying top dollar for this home, they really want nice finishes and features. However, there are, again, just like the laminate countertops, there's some really nice vinyl and linoleum that I've had people get down on the floor and touch it because they couldn't tell if it was vinyl or linoleum. Okay, moving on. Barn doors are super big and all the rage. So you can see here on the very left-hand side that this has a double barn door, so two of them. In our basement, we have one barn door just to close it off because we didn't really have door casing space to do an actual door, plus we didn't like that look anyways. We wanted it more modern. So we just did one that can open and close, and it closes off the downstairs from the upstairs. So here you can see instead of French doors into the master that they did the barn doors, and it just looks so amazing, and it adds in that natural wood. People are loving textures. They love the hardware. And then you can see also going into this shiplap. So you're probably on Pinterest and Instagram and following all these home trends. Shiplap is this one right here with the arrow, and people love shiplap. This one right here, which is obviously where you're going to hang up your coats and stuff, that's beadboard, so that's a little bit smaller. And then obviously this is wainscoting, which is the really thick. You can even do this really cheap yourself and it looks super classy. So again, YouTube it, Google it, whatever you need to do, but it ends up looking really amazing. And then trace ceilings, which is pretty much these ceilings in the bottom two photos. So it's a raised ceiling in the middle. Again, to give it a contrast, provide that depth difference. It really just exaggerates that room, makes it look fancy, nice. And as you raise the ceiling height, obviously it's going to make that room feel even bigger and more spacious. And I really like this bottom right one where they use the wood too. Okay, now we are going to be going over, obviously, brick. So people are loving faux brick right now for walls, again, to add in that texture and that character. So this is actually, a lot of times you can get these in panels and you can put them on for pretty affordable. Also, you can paint them or whitewash them if you want to give them a little bit whiter look. And so again, that's just going to add the texture in. This front door, obviously, again, going over the focal point of a home, front doors are huge. People are loving this very modern trend and having windows inside and the wood. And then you're going to start seeing more and more of just long vertical tiles for backsplash. And then marble is making a comeback as well. So as far as appliances go, black stainless is all the rage. And then in this photo over here, we're showing off the champagne bronze, which is kind of got a peach hue to the bronze. This top right photo is showing you that you can mix metals. So you don't have to, if you're going with gold, you don't have to get everything gold. You can actually play with stainless silver. You can do gunmetal. You can, so anyways, people are mixing and matching metals right now, and it looks amazing. I absolutely love it. And then for tiles, you can see in this bathroom, the printed style tile. So that's actually a really big thing for bathrooms. Here is Jill Penrod, one of my best friends, who was just on KSL yesterday talking about all the hot trends, and I wanted to definitely play this for you.
Chase the trends and you'll be forever changing and probably forever broke. But carefully weave those trends into good, solid design, and that is a home that you will love for a long time. A new community in Daybreak is a shining example of that decorating philosophy, and today we get a look inside some of these beautiful homes that are there. Jill Penrod is a designer with Oakwood Homes. They are the local home builder behind Spring House Village at Daybreak. Nice to have you. Nice to meet you. 6 gorgeous model homes, I understand, right? Out there for us to enjoy and to glean ideas and inspiration from. Those homes really set, those model homes set the tone for the entire community. And you see these designs are trend aware, but not trend driven. What's the difference there?
The difference is you just use small aspects of the trends that you see on Instagram and Pinterest, and you pull them in, just making them functional for your home.
You're going to teach us today 3 trends you want us to be aware of that can be easily weaved into good design, and we get to see the model homes as examples of these principles. So the first one is a trick for giving more dimension in a room. You say reach for high contrast colors.
Yes.
What does this do?
So what it does is by using like high contrast black and white, you can, with the cabinets, the black doors as accent, gives you a little bit more depth and dimension, and just creates more of a focal point.
This is your acacia model.
Yes.
It's stunning. What do you like about this particular floor plan?
This particular one is just kind of the open living space. Everything's on the main floor so that it's easily functional. Plus, then you've got the mixed metals that are really kind of a hot topic as well. You're mixing the antique bronze finish so that you get just a little bit of pop and create a little bit more interest as well.
So that dimension can be doubled, I imagine, with the mixed metals. You've done a lot with this space. I mean, it's very interesting, very visually appealing to the eye, gorgeous. On the flip side, you say another trend is the monochromatic single color palette, and that promotes harmony in the house. What are the design principles that play with this one?
So what you need to do for this one is kind of just take a base color. Grays are really popular, but you're seeing more warmer grays, kind of those grayish tones.
Okay.
Mixing them just with subtle other tones that are similar, light brown, maybe other beiges, a little bit of white, just creates a really neutral palette, as well as highlighting kind of the high ceilings that you see in the floor plan.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
As well as elongating the spaces, making them seem a little bit more bigger and airier.
So much natural light. I'm seeing windows in every corner of this model home. Yeah, that's a way to play it up. And so what you're basically saying with that monochromatic palette is if I'm making it a paint swatch, right, with 5 different tones, use them all?
Use them all. Not like in large quantities, just little pops here and there just to create interest.
Right.
Pick like your favorite as like the main color and then spread out from there.
Well, this is the Bryce model home. It's gorgeous. I love the neutral play there. There's a quote by Coco Chanel that goes something like, the best color in the whole wide world is the one that looks the best on you. And you say that concept totally applies to home design, but at the end of the day, the right color is your favorite color.
Exactly. It could be blue, it could be blush, it could be purple. Any color that you like should be in your home because you're the person living in that space. Navy blue is really popular, and you can kind of see we've used that as an accent here in the Larimar model.
It looks like we used it for every room.
Exactly. Using just pops of kind of that paprika rust to add a little bit more interest, but really bright, vibrant colors just in small as accents kind of really pulled everything together.
There's another model home on site called the Topaz. I understand you touched on blush pink, which is such a hot color right now. That's the color on display of the Topaz. So I think, I like pink. I like pink a lot. I'd be nervous to use it throughout my whole home. What makes this work?
This works because it's just, again, in small little accent pieces. We've got the chairs, the paintings that they put on the walls, small aspects in the master shower just to kind of pull those pink blush hues in, just to really kind of make it unique and make it your own.
Gorgeous designs. You're clearly very good at what you do. We've seen just a couple of the 6 beautiful model homes out there at this new community, this Oakwood Homes community in Daybreak. There's a great event on Saturday, which would be a great opportunity to pop in.
Yes, absolutely. So it's going to be Friday, February 9th. I'm going to be there, as well as 2 other designers will be on hand to kind of go over the tips and trends to kind of highlight all of the things that you see in the models, as well as incorporate it into your own home.
What a great opportunity to pick the minds of brilliant designers like yourselves and to see all of the great home builds that are happening out there at Daybreak by Oakwood. Thank you so much for stopping by. We'll link you over to the website if you want more details on that event there on February 9th.
Oh, here we go. Ooh, my Prezi presentation's getting ahead of itself. Okay, so that event is actually tomorrow for anybody that is interested. So Saturday, you guys can go out to Daybreak, see what they have. Obviously, seeing model homes and going to maybe the parade of homes, you're always going to stay top of mind of what things are coming up as far as hot trends. And then once you are done preparing your home as far as the structure, the updates, repair items, now let's go into actually staging your home. So not staging your home when it's for sale is like showing up to a job interview naked. So literally we say your home is being interviewed by potential home buyers. So it is literally, in a sense, if you have a vacant home or a home that looks trashy, those buyers are obviously not going to hire or buy that home. So staging also helps with your online appeal. So a majority of buyers find their homes online. So you definitely, by staging your home, it's really going to pop online in the photos and stand out. So it's going to help with that online appeal. Plus, 81% of buyers find it easier to visualize them living in a home that's staged. So it helps with spatial concept. So say, for example, you have an empty room. It's really hard to really realize how big of a room or how small of a room is if you don't have stuff in it. So it helps with that. Plus, it shows off the flow of the home, how they could situate their own furniture. It showcases your home's features. So obviously great things you can make even greater by showcasing them with staging. And then if you do have any negatives, it'll help downplay those negatives. So not make them an eyesore and stand out, but downplay it. And then 85% of stage homes sold for 6 to 25% more than unstaged homes. So say, for example, if you have a small room, what's some of the things that you want to do to help with that small room? So obviously, the darker things are, the smaller they feel. So even in bright homes, we tell people to brighten it up even more by opening the blinds and turning the lights on. But even more so in small rooms that are already small, you want to use light colors even when it comes to paint, when it comes to your carpets. If you do have furniture in there, making sure that your fabrics are light. And then use as much natural light as possible. Take down the curtains, use mirrors. I know that's like a 70s trend with the mirrors, but if you place a really nice, pretty mirror and it's bouncing the light off, it will end up making it feel bigger than it is. And then the furniture placement. So you definitely want to open up your walkway. So a lot of times you're going to have the furniture actually pushed to against the walls. Where typically in a big home, you're not going to have the furniture placed all the way up against the walls, but in small rooms, that is acceptable because you definitely want to leave enough walking space for people. And again, less furniture, the better in those small rooms. Also, I have on here, since we're talking about paint, here's the 10 best colors that I have given out to our sellers to say, hey, here's a couple top seller colors that really are neutral. And again, you definitely want to go neutral, vanilla up the home. So grays are in, warm grays. Taupe is obviously still in, still white, but actually you're starting to see more warmer whites and a little bit more warmer colors that play into that warmer tones. So there are a few. I can again give you access to all of these so you have them. People buy based upon their feelings. So obviously what makes us feel things is our 5 senses. So let's make sure we cover all of those. So the sight, immediately before you get anywhere close, that's the first thing typically people, obviously their first set, so is sight. So make sure that the rooms are tidy and well organized because they're gonna see it before they get close and can touch it, feel it, smell it. And then smell, as soon as you open a door into a home, say for example, they just got done cooking curry or they do have pets, it literally, I've had people turn around as soon as we open the door because of the smell. So you definitely want to greet them with a pleasant, fresh, light aroma. And again, I just reiterated in the spring and summertime, more on the fruity side, and then cinnamon in the fall. And then touch, make sure that you don't have any wobbly handrails as we're walking through your home. Make sure that you don't have any broken or chipped tiles. Make sure that there's no peeling paint. No missing handles off of things or cabinets falling off hinges. People will look inside your cabinets and inside your pantry. Obviously, if it's personal furniture like your dresser, they're not opening that because that doesn't go with the house. But even if you are opening these things up, we want to make sure that they open up good and they're not hard to open. You don't have to yank it. You don't have to shut it really hard. And then even the cabinets off the hinges, we've had some that we open it up and then it falls out and then we're like trying to piece it back together. And people really will over exaggerate how much things cost. And again, it's just planting that seed of doubt in your home and the maintenance and pride and ownership, maybe lack thereof. If they've been in your home for maybe 15, 20 minutes and they already have counted 5 things wrong with it, that's just going to make them think, what else is wrong with the home? I've only been here 15, 20 minutes and I've already found a handful of things. You know, I really don't want to pay this amount of money for this home because what else is there going to be? And I know more than likely they're still going to do a home inspection, but it's still just planting that seed of doubt and changing their perspective about your home. So make sure you do all of those repairs before you show your home. And then hearing, again, music adds energy into the home. And then if you do have, say, a busy street out back, if you have a hot tub out there, turn that on because that'll help drown it out. Or put a water feature because people are going to hear that. It's going to almost drown out the traffic noise with something pretty and beautiful like running water. And so sounds even play a big factor when it comes to adding energy into the home or drowning out like traffic noises. And then the taste. So obviously we don't expect you to really bake fresh cookies for every buyer. That would be awesome. But needless to say, I don't think I've seen that in quite some time. But even just putting like a cookbook on an easel, putting like a fresh or fake fruit basket out, or even like a little pinwheel of cheese, just even the side of hay, because a kitchen now is pretty much the center home base, the most used thing, especially when people are entertaining or coming together as a family. So even just the sight of potentially a good home cooked meal will actually entice them and make it feel more homey. If you do need help with staging, we do recommend My Utah Stagers, which I am co-owner of, but my partner and manager, Holly Remkes, this is her phone number. She will do consultations with you. If you already have your own furniture and you just need help situating things or needing her expert advice on maybe what you should leave out or how to place different things, she can do that. Or if you have a vacant home, she can bring in all the furniture into it to get it staged and make it look amazing. So moving on from staging. So now you've prepared your home, you've done all the repairs, you've gotten rid of all smells, you've done all the touch-ups, you've done all your updates. Now you're serious about selling. Well, here is your seller's timeline on what it takes to sell a home. So step one is obviously finding out what your home is worth. So we do offer free CMAs for any and all parties. It doesn't matter if you plan to use us or not. It's really good too to just get a dial and in on what today's market value is on your home. Once you're like, okay, this is all making sense. Yep, I agree with the numbers. This move's going to be worth it. Then you sign your listing paperwork with your My Utah Agents Realtor. You get the home show ready. So again, we reiterate getting it ready, which we already covered. Then we're going to do professional photography, put a nice reflective sign out front with a really nice sign post, because we don't want your home to look cheap and we don't want you to look like you went with a cheap brokerage. We also put a super key box out front so we can track any and all showings by professional realtors. Also, appraisers and inspectors have access to those key boxes so we can track anybody and everybody real time that's gone through your home. And of course, if you're living there, they do have to make an appointment. So we do need a key copy to put into that key box. Other than that, you don't have to be home to let people in. If you left your home show ready and you went to work for the day, people can access it while you're gone. Then once photos are back, signs up, key boxes on, we can go ahead and put it on the MLS and we can schedule your open house. Obviously, if you're living there, we will schedule those showings for you. And once the showings are done, we will provide you with any and all feedback that we get. And then we'll give you an update on the activity with your home. And then once under contract, once we negotiate an acceptable contract and go under contract, or in these national TV shows, you see that they say they go into escrow. That's the same thing as under contract. We pretty much handhold and babysit the whole file from start to finish, from contract to closing, trying to make sure it's as smooth as of a transaction as possible. There's tons of moving parts behind the scene, and we are here to help handle that. Also, we will schedule the appraiser to go through your home, because more than likely your buyer is not paying cash and they are getting a loan. So the appraiser will make sure that it appraises for the purchase price, as well as right before that, an inspector is going to go through and tell the buyer everything wrong with your home. So that's why it's going to be proactive about doing all those things. And then once the financing and appraisals all completed, everybody signs at the title company. Funding and reporting happens, and congratulations on your closing. You can make your move a reality onto your next home. Having the right realtor is huge when you are going to sell your home. We say not every realtor is the same. Most other realtors do the 3 P's of real estate. However, we do the 4th P. So most of them, they put it on the MLS, they put a sign in your yard, and then they pray that it sells. Well, we do the 4th P, which is we proactively market and expose your home to find you a buyer, because the sooner we can actually get an offer on your home and a buyer that's interested, more than likely, the more money you can get for it. So we go above and beyond. We have lots of different tactics that are not common to the general realtor community to get our home sold fast and for top dollar. And then pricing it right. We are never going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. We are going to be as open and honest with you about where the market's at and where your home places in the market. If you are too exaggerated over what market value is, even in today's day and age with inventory being low, doesn't mean you're going to get that for your home. And especially if these buyers are getting an appraisal done in order to qualify for their loan, that appraiser is going to look at the same comps we're looking at and come up with a range. If we're getting showings but we're not getting offers, that would more than likely lead us to believe that the condition isn't there to warrant the price that we're asking for it. So we're within the realm of pricing, but then they're getting there and they're getting disappointed for one reason or another. So either we got to do those updates as far as condition, or we need a reduced price. So we're very open and honest with our communication and dialogue, and again, educating you and empowering you to make the best decision for you and your family. We go above and beyond with marketing and exposure. So we don't just put it on the MLS. We don't just put a sign out front and just call it good. We pay for additional marketing. We host open houses. We post it on networking groups that we created with other top producing realtors in our community. to really collaborate and maximize getting it out to as many people as possible. We also recommend obviously having that curb appeal done. Unless it's winter time, there's not much you can do. However, definitely make sure that your walkways are cleared, that there's no ice that they're going to slip on. That's liability. And then 3Ds at all time too. So just making sure you're constantly keeping it decluttered, depersonalized, and deep cleaned throughout the showing process. And then conceal the critters. So I remember showing a home and they had 3 wiener dogs in their kennels, but in the kitchen where there was tile. And then throughout the rest of the home, there was hardwood. Well, the whole time we were showing the home, it was just echoing these 3 wiener dogs just pretty much barking at us the whole time we were through the whole home. And literally these people absolutely hated this showing of this home because of the noise. And then also if I've ever gone in a home and it's like, oh, don't let Lucy out, the cat, and I haven't even seen Lucy and I'm closing up shop and I'm thinking, well, did I already let Lucy out and I didn't see it? Just don't give us extra homework that we're not worrying about selling and showcasing your home, that we're worried about the animals, or say, for example, if they're coming up and rubbing on our legs. So conceal the critters, conceal even their water bowls, and, you know, if you have the cat little tear things, because if people see that, they're going to immediately, it's going to heighten their sense to the smell of them as well. And then always be show ready. We typically recommend that you be okay to show within 3 or 4 hours notice, because that's when more than half of the showings occur, or the notice for them. But there has been times where somebody drove by, saw your sign, called and said, oh my gosh, somehow, you know, I didn't schedule a showing on this. We absolutely love it. We want to see it right now. Is there any way? So sometimes you do have those last minute showings. And again, we're going to leave it up to you to approve that or not. But it is nice, especially if you're leaving for work for the day, like I said, just to proactively have it good to go so you're not running home on your lunch break to clean things up. And then we go above and beyond too. So by standing out, by professionally showcasing your home to sell for top dollar, this is a great, if you've never seen this, this is like Google Maps for homes. So if you've ever used Google Maps, you can tell that you can click and drag, and then you can get a 360 view. We have this Matterport camera that we offer. Obviously, if you have many levels, it's not as good and doesn't have the same impact. But this is the way that showings are starting to go. So let me show you. This is actually our home. So you can do a dollhouse feature, which shows each level on top of each other. You can look at aerial view too. It'll also give you a plan as far as the layout of the home once you're all said and done. But this is what we did in our home. This is a couple of years ago when it was still actually really new and nice and clean. But with 4 kids, 2 dogs, and a partridge and a pear tree. No, just kidding. It's still really nice. So needless to say, you definitely want to make sure your home is very clean when we do this. I'll even show you on this fridge, you can see how we have coupons and different things on the side of it. Now looking back, I would have taken that down. So you almost have to be so particular to have every corner, nook and cranny, just absolutely spotless. You can go up and down stairs. And then we can actually put this as your tour on the MLS, on your listing. We can promote it on YouTube, on many different websites. So these buyers are actually virtually seeing your home in person, which does obviously help to where if they don't like your home, then they didn't just waste your time or ours by scheduling a showing on it if they knew they didn't like it by seeing it here. So sometimes your activity may seem less, but at the end of the day, it's actually being more proactive. And especially with tons of people moving here from California and relocating, this is a great way for them to walk through your home without having to fly out here. And then also, we know that a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to for sell by owner. So we came up with this little tag of say no to for sell by O, and here are the reasons why. So obviously the two most important things for seller is money and time. So when they think that they're going to sell their home on their own, they're thinking I'm going to save money. However, statistics show that sellers who listed their home with a professional realtor on average got 9% more than a first sell by owner, and they sold their home 16 days faster too. I've actually sold homes to many of my own buyers that we ended up getting an appraisal done, and the appraisal came in way more than what we actually were selling it to our buyers for. However, I'm representing the buyer. I would never go and tell that seller that information because that obviously gives up our position in negotiating. And that's really honestly the seller's fault at the end of the day. Also, with that being said, every single for sell by owner I've sold, the seller is still paid our buyer's agent commission. So they think that they're saving all of this money when really, in a sense, they're still more than likely going to pay a buyer's agent because 87% of buyers used a realtor, and they're more than likely going to ask that seller to pay that commission because they can buy any other home that's being offered that's paying that commission. So they think that they're saving all this money, but really at the end of the day, they're really only costing them money, in my opinion. And I'm not going to say that's always true. There's some people that, you know, have probably been successful at doing it. So I'm not going to make a blanket statement, say forever and always. However, we'd argue too that their overall experience and confidence throughout the transaction are very important. Because a majority of sellers, 91%, and buyers, 87%, used a realtor as they saw the value in using a professional to assist them when it comes to preparing the home or preparing to purchase the home, pricing. When we represent buyers, we run comparables to make sure the sellers are in line with the market, and then helping with the paperwork and the contract, which again is liability. If you're filling out a contract and agreeing, which in that contract it is legal and binding, and you're agreeing to the terms, and all of a sudden you agree to terms that you weren't aware of, or you read it wrong, or you were mistaken, if you don't have a professional proactively helping you with that, you could make a very big mistake. And then guiding them through the entire process from start to finish. So having that reassurance, having that coach and mentor and guide, and really, like I said, there's tons of moving parts behind the scenes. We cover all of that for you. We take care of that so you can just focus on making your move a reality. So we'd love, obviously, to interview for the position to be your trusted realtors. For the month of February only, we love what we do so much. We love real estate. We love creating raving fans, and we love our Utah communities so much that we're offering dollar listings for the month of February. So obviously terms and conditions apply. It is a graduated scale as far as limited service up to full service. And we can go over that with you. But if it's after February, then we go revert back to full service. That's pretty much all we do. And let me show you why it would pay to work with my Utah agents any time of the year. So proof is in the numbers. We sold 82 homes last year in 2018. We sold almost 22 million in volume. I personally have 15 years of real estate experience. I have been through the good times, the hard times, which is the peak, which then it crashed obviously after. So I went through the recession. I have learned to have tough conversations with clients when needed. I have learned to be empathetic, compassionate, and really, the end of the day, it's communication and education is the biggest thing that we bring to the table with our experience. And at the end of the day, too, we put you ahead of us. So your goals, obviously, is what we are after, is achieving that and exceeding your expectations. We have an entire team of specialists throughout the entire state of Utah that are here to help. We are consistently going to trainings and being a part of trainings. We are full immersion in the training world and staying ahead of the curve and knowing how to best represent our clients. We have a nationwide brand with Keller Williams, but then we have a local touch. So we all have lived here pretty much our whole lives. I don't think there's not one person that wasn't born and raised here in the state of Utah. Also, don't let me talk so great and wonderful about ourselves, but if you read on here, Our mission is to always achieve your goals and exceed your expectations. And here are some testimonials from our past clients that are recent. These aren't 5 years ago and we're just, recycling and raising. These are all people within the past few months that we have helped them sell their home and make their move a reality. We're in the business of truly creating raving fans. We want to create a repeat and referral-based business. We're here to earn your business is what we say. We don't expect it, but we're here to show you the value we bring, see if it's a good fit. And if it is, you won't be disappointed, I promise. So here's our contact information. Obviously, here's some testimonials. You can see that Alan Hightower said we're rock stars. We provided expert service. Jeff and Stacy Martin said we were top notch. We sold their home for more than they were expecting. We were great communicators. John and Valerie said we're amazing to work with and we genuinely care. Jenny and Adam Moore talked about we treated them like family. We comforted them every step of the way. We had 3 offers in 1 week. Honestly, there's almost every single home we sell does end up getting in a multiple offer situation or at least getting a backup offer in the process. John Moore said we're on top of every detail. Lindsay and Zach Berlin said that we go above and beyond for the clients and it was completely seamless. So that is all their raving fan words. Again, you can go on to Facebook, read our reviews, go on to Zillow, read our reviews. We're very proud of what we do. We love what we do. And if you know of anybody that wants to work with us, we say not only do we want our clients to love where they live, we want our team to love where they work. So stick with the people who pull the magic out of you, not the madness. We really only work with people that are compassionate, driven, and talented professionals in this real estate industry and that deliver on our promise. So we only work with full-time realtors that really honestly fulfill all of our promises and wishes. We focus on creating a team culture based around authenticity and an attitude of gratitude, education that truly empowers, personal and professional growth, as well as we all inspire to be better in all areas of our lives. If you or somebody you know that is thinking about getting into real estate is interested in joining our team, email Kara at kara@myutahagents.com to get the interview process started. We would love to have you join our team. We're definitely growing. We have tons of raving fans and tons of referrals coming in that we actually need more hands on deck. We need talented professional people that we can trust to help them. So needless to say, I'm Shannon Olson. If you need anything from me, I'm always here to help. Call me on my work number, 435-228-7379. Thanks again for showing up. And again, I'm going to make this recording available. So if you guys need anything at all, I am here to help.